Hello and welcome to ICND 1. ICND 1 is the first step to anyone who wants to start on basics of networking. My name is Kevin Kamanga and I'll be taking you through this course. Our first aim for this course, our goal is basically to enable you to get the knowledge and skills necessary to install, operate and troubleshoot a small network. We will go through this step by step to ensure that we all get our practical skills, our knowledge and our know-how to be able to troubleshoot and run our networks effectively. Our course is divided into 6 modules, and this is split into 5 days depending on the number of hours you take with us in this session. So I'll be with you all through and ensure that we go through this. Our first module is building a simple network. Here is where we talk about the devices that we have in Cisco, the routers, the switches, and the hubs, how they work and how they enable connectivity to proceed. Then module 2 is on Ethernet LANs. Ethernet LANs, here we are talking about the OSI model, the TCP/IP model. We have an introduction to this and how they enable our networks to be able to communicate effectively. Then on module 3, we have wireless LANs. Here we're talking about our wireless access points. How do we configure them and how does the wireless networks work? Then we have our LAN connection. LAN connection is where we're talking about our broadcast domains, our things like this, the storms that are in the network, trying to get the advantages, disadvantages of our networks and what to do enable to have great networks. Then we have our WAN connections. WAN connection, here we are talking about frame relay. We're talking about PPP. This is a build-up from our LAN to the wide area where we can be able to connect various networks together. Then from the WAN, we have what we call module 6, where we're talking about network environment management. And in network management environment, we're talking about the protocols that help us enhance our communication within the networks. And here we're talking about SMTP, we're talking about NTP, we're talking about CDP. All these protocols, we'll talk about them, we'll see how they affect us, we'll see how they gain to help us within our networks, and then we can proceed. So let's dive in and let's enjoy this course. Thank you. Our first stop is exploring the functions of networking. I hope you are all psyched up, we are all charged up for this session. We'll start on how we build a simple network and what entities are supposed to be in our network to ensure that we can be able to communicate. And first off, let's start off. What is a network? When you talk about network, we basically talk about an interconnection of devices. When you're talking about interconnecting devices, we are connecting various modes, various devices to enable us to communicate from one point to another. And that's the essence of our network. You can see here, we have someone communicating from our home office all the way to the headquarters. And what is helping us to do this is basically the internet. So an internet is basically an interconnection of networks. And with this, then we can be able to work out. So a network is basically the interconnection of devices to be able to share resources so that we can be able to communicate and work together despite of our zone differences or where we are seated independently. So we have common physical components of a network, and the first of these components, what we can see here, we have what we call the router. Our router basically connects our network and a second network. So you can see we have 2 networks here where they are connected by our router. And a router is basically what we call a broadcast domain. It creates what we call broadcast domains. So this is one broadcast and this is another broadcast. So meaning any data from our point 1 here, any data that comes all the way, it will be stopped here, and the same thing here. So we are basically talking about having 2 broadcast domains. Then after that, what you have here, you can see we also have switches within our network. Switches are used to connect more than one device within our network. You have here a situation where you have a switch, and you can see this switch, we have connected one PC and another PC. So these 2 PCs are within the same network and they are connected together using the switch. Remember, a broadcast sent from this switch, this PC will only go up to the interface of the router. Hence, one broadcast remains there, and another broadcast remains there. So our switches create what we call a coalition domain. So each interface on a switch is basically its own coalition domain. So in our case here, we have 3 coalition domains, where we have 1 here, you have 2 here, and you have a 3rd one here. So those are 3 coalition domains, and each interface on our switch is a coalition domain. Then apart from that, you also have our connectors. This connector is connected within our PC. Then this is what the cable that we use to connect to our PC from our switch. Then you have a cable and it connects directly to our network interface card using the RJ45 connector. And on this other end, we have the network interface card. This is the network interface card. At this point is where our RJ45 cable comes and plugs in. So our network interface card enables us to communicate within the network with different PCs, our switch, and the entire network as a whole. So that, remember, you have your router that creates broadcast domains, then you have the switches that creates the coalition domains, and all this will enable our communication of our networks to proceed. As we move forward, we'll see how these various devices are configured and see how they help us as we move and how they help in our networks. Thank you for watching this, and I'll see you in the next video.